Steve, thanks ever so much for joining us during the summer. Great to take a few minutes and chat to you, get a catch up. To kick us off, I'm always curious. So, what's it like this time of year for you as a manager? Like, what takes us behind the curtain for the type of activity this time of year when it's summertime?
To be honest with you, Stuart, so just a lot of phone calls, lot of emails, a lot of WhatsApps to agents, to players that we're trying to look at bringing in, and players that we're looking to try and keep, and a lot of digging, a lot of going on the football data websites and things. So yeah, it's and it happens slowly. That's the problem. In an ideal world, we get a 17, 18 man squad done by the end of May, but it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So the first thing I suppose is just trying to get the hardcore group of players that we want to start with, that we've offered contracts to, sorted, and then we have got a lot in place. But as I mentioned to you off air, it's really tough because the players that'll make a difference to us that we're talking to will have other options and they'll have other offers. So we've just got to be patient with them. And as I say, it's just the way it is. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. It'd be great if we could get everybody we needed to get over the line regarding our own players. But apart from that, it's going to be a little bit of a process. But we're not far away with a couple, we feel.
Great. And how much of that, when you're looking at who you want to bring in, so those incoming players, how much of it is you and Terry and your network and word of mouth and your experience, and how much of it is data and analytics? Is it a bit of both? Is it more gut? How do you do it?
Um, I think it's good to I'm not obsessed with data. My eye can tell us a lot when I see a player. Me and Terry both come off games, and there's players that have played against us, so you'll put a tick next to, you'll put a mark next to, and say they could really improve us next season. I think the targets we've got are reasonable, but it's also, I think when you're in a position like we are and where we're based in the country, I think because we don't offer full time football, we don't have clubhouses available. I think the recruitment of the sort of distance that you recruit players is important, and virtually everybody that we've got like in our sort of wish list, if you like, is sort of northeast and northern based. So we feel that we could put a squad together that could be really challenging, but it not sort of invade too much on people not being able to get there because of distances or things like that. So that we do look at that as well.
Yeah. The core of the team from last season, don't want to go and look at last season too much, finished 11th, but there were times in that season where I thought we were pretty close. We had some good runs of form, we had some good individual performances and victories. What were there times where you looked at what was on the pitch and thought, yes, this is close to what I'm looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think, as I mentioned earlier, I think there's a lot of teams when you talk to managers after the game, and they're not just telling you what you want to hear. I know a lot of them. Like Sir Paul Caddis at Hereford. I had him as a player at Birmingham. So when you speak to people, they do show you a lot of respect, and they do, they kind of allude to there's not many better out there. Found it hard to be ultra consistent because we did have a lot of injuries in the first part of the season. We kept in and around it despite those. We had a really good spell where we went on an unbeaten run, got ourselves into the sort of top seven, albeit briefly because people had games in hand. And I just feel we made mistakes at the end of the season, but every team makes mistakes. But if you look at how diligent we were defensively, first half of the season, errors sort of crept in at the end, which we weren't making at the start, and they probably cost us points. But obviously, the main part of it was we just didn't score enough goals, and that's not from strikers. It's got to be a team thing. So it's not rocket science. This summer we're looking at as many players that can cause a threat, because I feel with Platty, Toby, Griff, Heads, hopefully Scotty, hopefully Elliot, both been offered contracts, and Pete. We're probably only a couple of defenders away. Certainly with Platty sitting where he does, being solid again, and then it is really a case of what can we do to bridge that gap. Probably only 10, 15, sorry, maybe 12, 15 goals more might have got us where we needed last season, and so that's something we're just trying to address.
I was going to ask you about that, Steve. Actually, I'm glad you brought it up. So it was 61 goals last year, and I was prompted because we had a chat after the end of the season, and you said that was going to be your priority. So you're right. We scored 61. You take that into the 70s, and anything above that, and you're in real business. But it's not as simple, I don't imagine, as just thinking, right, that's another striker then, and we're going to score more goals. Like what other parts of the pitch, or what are you thinking in terms of being a little bit more creative and trying to score that few more goals?
It has to be a change in mentality with the players that we've got as well, because we've got really talented sort of heads and Griff, really good quality on the ball, good energy. Griff scored a couple of great goals this season, but we want them to be more advanced. We want them to be higher up the pitch and be more of a threat. And on the other side, whether it be Scotty or whether Headspace there, or whether we bring sort of a younger, energetic left back into the equation. Again, something we're looking at, because you've always got Scotty to move in one. So, but yeah, I just think we need to be higher up the pitch from both sides. We can't just bring 4 or 5 players in without a game plan, so they have to complement who we've already got. So we now know that Cedric's actually comfortable playing off a wing, which the first start of the season we thought central was probably not all, but is certainly his biggest strength. All of a sudden, we found that his strength with his back to goal against fullbacks is really, really good for us. Can really cause problems because you don't tend to get as physically strong and as tough fullbacks. So Jack's, as I said, he's coming into his own. I think he showed some really good spells of what he could be. And then you've got to fit players in around it, So I would say if we're going to bring forwards in, so probably forwards that could integrate between sort of what they call an 11, 7, and a 9.
Yeah.
And just a little bit more creativity behind them, and that's kind of it in a nutshell. But it's as much a mentality thing, and last pre-season we're coming off the back of just staying up, and it was almost, you almost got the sense that it was just a relief rather than an actual kick on. So this season is very much a kick on. It's a very much this is now. We've had that season where we've not been in threat, but we've proved, and we've had results against people like Kiddy, beat Chester, beat Shields, we beat Spenny, even teams like Scunny. We didn't really went toe to toe with most people, and I just think this is a season where we say, right, okay, what we got now, let's take that next step, and that'll be the message from the start.
Yeah, and to talk about personnel a little bit, and you talked about the importance of the core that you've got, and there's a few more that you hope to get from the existing squad. I've managed my own expectations about how you're going to answer this next question, but in terms of incomings and time-wise and player-wise profiles that you've got, when might we start to see some players coming in, and is there anything you can tell us about any of the ones on the radar?
No, I can't really, because they're not our players, and until they are, we can't really talk about them individually, because other clubs are after them. A, we don't want to alert other clubs to what our business plan is, but B, it only takes players' agent to know that we've named them and that we might just go off their list. So that it's just as I said earlier. We're looking to try to bring 3 or 4 players in. We're going to have to go into the loan market as well, because to get the quality that we need to get, we can't get 18 permanent signings on the budget. It's just not doable. So we're going to have to be lucky with a couple of good loans as well. But again, that's something we've already talked about. We've talked about the teams again, probably local teams again. We've spoken to Newcastle, Sunderland, and Middlesbrough about what could be out there. A couple of really good young kids at Leeds. But again, they'll be sort of Will Flint type of players who will come in right at the start of the season. So we won't have them pre-season. They'll be made available pretty much right before the start of the season. So yeah, it's tough. It'd be great just to have this huge war chest and just play fantasy football and just pick exactly who you want. But just fortunately, it just doesn't work like that.
Well, you're right. You're spending the money because it's our money, right? It's the fans' money, and it's boost the budget right now. We're
Well,
on
it's
May
your club.
2nd.
It's your club.
Yeah, pardon me. Yeah, exactly. So boost the budget is going through. We're super proud of it as a fan base. There will be people watching this who are likely going to probably invest, but they just haven't got around to it yet. So I suppose one of the questions I had around boost the budget is what practical difference does it make if we hit the target that's been set compared to if we fall short? And obviously, we're not saying, people will contribute what they can afford and what they're comfortable with, and that's absolutely right and proper. But on practical terms, squad wise, what can you do if we hit that target versus if we don't?
I suppose it's as simple as anything. Whether you've got a budget for a car or a budget for a new watch or a wedding ring, it's the better the budget is, the better quality we can bring in, and it's as simple as that. It's as I say, we won't be far away. We won't be far away if we get to where we got to, regarding the players we want. We really haven't got anybody higher up the list, so we're not. If we've got this huge influx of money, we couldn't suddenly say, oh, okay, there's this guy. We really have got players who I think would make that difference. And the thing is, it is hard because we are against the clock a little bit, because I know a couple of them want to come. So it's just a case of, look, people have all got the problems in life, and football may be way down the priority list, and I get that. I get that. I'm the same. So, but yeah, I mean, to achieve what we want to achieve, that would give us our best chances. Is all I'm saying. And regarding how grateful we are, like, we couldn't be more grateful. We wouldn't have a club without it. We wouldn't have a competitive team without it. I suppose it's just how high we can go.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've only got a couple of questions more, one of which we thought we might touch on the pitch because it was a bit challenging end of last year, but I think I was down, had a look at it on Friday, seeing all the work that's going on. I think that helps a little bit in terms of attracting people. I mean, it helps you put the brand of football on that you want, for sure, but does it go through players' minds when you can say, look, we've made developments with the pitch, it's going to be much better?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably players who played in the last half a dozen home games against us, who might be thinking that, is that what I'm going to have to play on next season? We're trying to address it. Nathan, we're trying to address it. It will be better. That can only help the way we play, because we felt sort of, maybe more than that. We sort of felt February onwards that it was actually suiting the away team more than it suited us. So, we talk about Kiddie, we go down to Kiddie's pitch. We were able to play and keep the ball the way we wanted, and every ball that we tried to pass wasn't a gamble. It wasn't is this going to come off? It's not, because they're so strong. So and if we have that as a home surface, I just think that'll also bring more points and more success for us. I just think it played into teams like Alfreton. When Brackley came, we went 2-0 up. From there on, everything that they achieved that day was just loading the box, which took the pitch out of the equation. And in fairness to them, they've been promoted because of it. So, and I've spoke to the manager. I've congratulated them. I get on well with them, but I'm glad to see the back of them, as I was with Tamworth.
Yeah,
because we never seem to get anything against them. So, so yeah, it'll definitely play into our hands as the season gets Christmas onwards. If we can just keep that surface a little bit more of a level playing field football wise, I think we'll be a lot better. That might be half a dozen points. That might be the difference.
Yeah, no, fantastic, and better to watch as well as for those of us who are watching. It's better to watch.
The good thing is, especially I have a good bit of crack with 3 or 4 of the guys beside the dugout, and they're fully aware. Every time a bobble comes and goes off the pitch, they're fully aware. So it's not like it's us complaining. I think everybody sees it.
Yeah. So to wrap before I take any more of your time, too much more of your time, we've got a little bit of anticipation, Bill. We've had a month off now, and you start to look for. We're all fans. We start to look forward to the season and stuff like that. What's your view on what we want to achieve next year? Rather than me saying it, what do you think we're looking to achieve next year? What's realistic for the ambition that you've got?
I think Ray said to me at the start of pre-season, and I pulled him a little bit. back on it, because we'd obviously just stayed up. We'd spent, I don't know, 3/4 of the season in the bottom two. And then pre-season, we're talking about playoffs. And in my mind and Terry's mind, we thought we had a really decent chance being in the top 10, pushing, but didn't want to stay because didn't want to put the pressure on the lads that were already here. It would have been a huge step last season, but it's not this season. We've gone up 5 places. We've made strides. We've had problems last season, but 5 more places next season is where we want to be. And I don't see any reason, if things go to plan this summer, why we can't. And so if you're asking me, playoffs, promotion, that has to be with any manager, apart from maybe 3 or 4 in the league, that says otherwise, probably isn't telling the truth. So I'll just put it out there. That has got to be our aim. We've got to think we can push for the playoffs.
Brilliant. Well, I'm right behind that, and yeah, there's a level of anticipation and excitement for the season ahead. I think I really appreciate you spending some time with us. I'm sure it'll be super useful for everyone to listen, and yeah, we'll be there. It starts before you know it. I think you got the players in early July, haven't you? And then August the 14th, first day.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
No, cheers. Thank you. Cheers.